Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas, all the way from Forest Tower Studios. We're still in the South, regardless. I'm Joe Root. This is Lighting the Void. We're live on the Fringe FM, KTLK, digital broadcasting. If this is your first time listening to the broadcast, we talk about all things fringe, all things conscious exploration, the occult, UFOs, parapolitical, conspiracy, scandalous, the alternative media, the stuff that moves our society. I mean, let's face it, it'd be boring if we just sat around and talked about all the same stuff over and over again, right? Politics and all that crap. Like if we just talked about that all the time, I think it'd be quite boring, actually. But you can call in tonight if we open the phone lines up. I'm not sure we're going to open the phone lines up tonight because Rich West is coming on. Rich West, who's been on the show before. We had him on. We talked about the out-of-body experience. This is one of the first guys. I watched his YouTube channel at richwest.net is his website, but I remember that's how I'm back home for a bit, so I'm starting to get the Arkansas vernacular. I remember stumbling upon his YouTube videos when he was talking about an entity being in his face. But besides all that, why are we fascinated so much with the out-of-body experience here at this show? Besides magic and that, because I have an obsession for authenticity, freedom, autonomy, and just trying to find out the truth. Now, there is no better freedom, in my opinion, than the ability to leave the body. Because let's face it, it's a pretty dense place here. So you can leave the body as you come and go. You can leave, come back, and you still got a body. That's pretty cool. But people have been talking about doing this since the beginning of time. Whether in the body or out of the body, that comes from the Bible. But there's blocks. So why do we have blocks? Like some people can do it all their lives. Some people do it for a stretch and then they can't do it anymore. And then it's all done. Why are there blocks? What happens to us? I ask you this question because I'm asking myself this question, really. So I went on a journey, learned a lot of lessons. I came back to the shack. And now I'm ready to do this again and again and again and again until I get it right. And I think, I don't know about the semantics. I want to talk about that tonight because there's a whole lot of semantics. Do you face north or south? What time do you do it? What do you eat? What are you thinking about? All this other kind of junk. It just gets pretty crazy after a while. But when I first started doing this, there wasn't a whole lot of people doing it. There was quite a few, but not like there is now. And I want to get things straight. I've always wanted to keep things categorized and structured in my head. For as free as a person that I want to be, I need a little structure in my life, for sure. So in my head, I'm still being asked to this day, in 2023, what's the difference between lucid dreams, remote viewing, astral travel, the out-of-body experience? I'm still getting asked that stuff. And I know the difference. Like, I can tell when people are asking that they haven't had one. But you can definitely tell the people that have. And I believe Rich West is one of those people. Guys, make sure that you donate to the Fringe FM. It is the thing that keeps the station alive. It keeps the live broadcast alive so that we can do this real time. We have a gilded chat room if you want to hang out in there, if you like chat rooms. I'm sorry. I know some of you guys feel like I bailed on the chat rooms, but it's the chat rooms. There's so many lovely people in there, but I feel stubborn. Let's just put it that way. I'm like way too old school for chat rooms, I think, for some reason. Like I want to see people's faces. I want to hear your voice. I want to see your body language. I want to know who you are. Besides playing video games, even when I play video games, I put my picture up there. I like transparency. But some of you that have been there for a while, I know who you are. But you can go to that chat room. You can download the Fringe FM app. The app, the machine that runs the station, all the stuff, the website, everything depends entirely upon your donations or any lovely sponsors that come by. Without those things, it does not function, and it will not function. One hell of a sales pitch, isn't it? So I had a dream last night that I was trying to get out of body. I figured when I go to bed, I'm going to play PUBG Mobile for a little bit. Then I'm going to go to bed. Then I'm going to try to get out of body because I know that's what the show topic's going to be about. And I thought, man, don't slip into a dream. And it's like the one thing I resist is what happens. So I slipped into a dream. And I started dreaming about like everybody I knew. This is going to sound weird, though. I don't know if I should talk about this. Okay, yeah. I thought about it for a second. Everybody I knew was like babies. They're like little toddlers with little rattlers. Everybody was like babies. And I understand the metaphor. I get it. I couldn't tell if I was trying to understand, all right, so everybody's just like, because we talked about this before, everybody's just babies walking around in this big grown body. Or is it trying to tell me that I'm a baby? But there was like 3 or 4 people. I recognized them, like my friends. But they were like, Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I? What? I got to get JM DeBoard back on here because I don't understand dreams sometimes. I thought it was like my brain just dumping stuff. And so I journaled it. I have a journal. I have a few journals that I've never showed anybody. But the dream journal, I don't mind sharing. This thing that I'm realizing that keeps us trapped. If you're a parent, I want you to realize this. Like, let's pretend for a second that we come into this earth, and this is just my theory. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But let's just pretend for a minute that we come into this earth and we leave this unconditional love type thing called, quote, God. We want to call it creator, God, whatever. And then when we get here, we forget. Maybe, possibly. I don't know. So we forget. And then the only thing that we know that's programmed deep into our psyches from babies is like what our parents are telling us. This is the first loves we meet in our life. And these some bitches, and I'm a parent too, so I'm a some bitch myself. They start limiting you in a way. You're not enough of this. You should be more of that. You don't do enough of this. Like there's no unconditional love there. And then we start taking on the traits. Like as we grow older, we still want to impress our mommies and daddies. This is all my interpretation from the dream. So we do things. We're still doing things to try to get their attention. Now, I didn't learn this from an out-of-body experience, but I think perhaps the dreams are prepping us for out-of-body experiences because sometimes when you get out of body, you got to deal with more heavy stuff. Well, we're going to jump right into this because I don't want to ramble all night, okay? So Rich West is here with us. This is richwest.net. We had him on the broadcast before. We talked about some pretty cool stuff. And he's back with us. What's up, brother? Is that you on the phone? I'm hoping that's you.
Yeah, it sure is. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
What's up, bro?
Oh, just hanging out. Had an out-of-body experience just the other day.
You did?
And, yeah.
Now, the last time we talked, I thought that, we discussed it. We hadn't had them frequently, right? Like we just hadn't had them as much as we used to, but you're popping. So you had one. That's awesome. Let's hear what happened.
Well, I ended up on a spaceship.
Really?
That's one thing that happened. Yeah, but what happened was I decided that I needed to do some kind of a technique. So there's a lot to have to do with the quiet mind, and it has to do with frequency. And what you need to do, we're just jumping in here out of nowhere.
Yeah, let's do it.
I got to warm up a little bit, but basically we got to change our frequency. When the body's asleep, we're awake, and we want to be in a high enough frequency vibration in mind, body, in spirit, in consciousness, what we're thinking about and feeling about, such that if we do stay awake or wake back up while the body is still asleep, we'll find ourselves in a happy place. Because if we're like waking up when the body's asleep and we've been focusing on dark shit, we might end up in a darker, like lower astral sort of place.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I practiced, I was laying in bed and I was practicing, quieting the mind. But when you hear the talk, there's the awareness that we are has to tune into it and be aware of not just the talking, but there's a thinking of what to say in words, the inner dialogue. There's a thinking process before the talking process. And then there's the talking. So you can ask yourself, okay, is this talking that I'm doing in my head, is it really me? Well, there's the awareness that is observing this talky thing going, is this really me? And even the words themselves aren't the thinker that's thinking the thoughts. And so you got to be aware of it, because as soon as the being that you are considers something, we have an automatic translation system. We want it translated into words. So another part of us sitting in there just looking around and looking at these thoughts and shit, this other part of us wants to hear the words. Because there's this part of us that if we don't hear the fucking words in our own head, we don't know what we just thought.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. So we have to do all this kind of practice shit. So I did all that, and body fell asleep, and I woke up a little bit later, and I was out of body and just checking out the sector of the galaxy. It's just a simple little out-of-body experience, but you're wide awake when you're in it, and you know you're awake, and you know you're aware, and you know you're not in the physical world and physical body. So that was pretty cool. And then a little bit later, I did another one, and I shifted on to a spacecraft that I've been on before in an out-of-body experience.
Did you see any aliens or entities or anything like that?
Yeah.
I don't ever get to do this cool stuff, man.
Oh no, no, beautiful. I was on a spacecraft that was like, we've all come from somewhere, right? Before we were here, we were somewhere else. Before we incarnated. So generally speaking, we can call that the between lives area.
Okay.
And there's different people are in different areas between lives. Robert Monroe calls them belief system territories. Other teachings will call it the astral planes. They call it the park sometimes. Robert Monroe came up with that idea. And different people, when they drop dead and they get between lives, they're just going to go just millions of people, millions of different places they can go. But there's some basic places that a lot of people will go based upon the general belief systems of the world and of various religions. So various religions will have their belief system territories or afterlife realms. And so you'll meet like-minded beings, right? So anyway, my between lives area, I was on a spacecraft. It's like, just this fucking spacecraft, but it's not a physical density spacecraft. It's higher planes, so
really?
Between lives. Yeah. So, yeah.
That sounds about right. So you're on some kind of metaphysical craft, or what we would call like a metaphysical craft.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people in their dreams and in their out-of-body experiences, they will see UFOs, spaceships, aliens, different kinds of beings. Now, that's just waking up outside of this matrix and being in a different reality system. Density, realm, vibration, frequency, alternate reality, parallel universe, all these different things we can call them. But yeah.
So if you're in a low frequency, like a low density, you're going to have a hard time getting out of body, for sure. I mean, because I think I got to tell you, like, for the past few years, it just seemed like whatever was happening to me, maybe I was causing it, maybe it was my environment, who knows, but the frequency, the vibrations got lower and lower and lower, like they were peaking, you know, and then it started getting lower, and I could when I say vibrations, I mean the ability to do those things. Like when I was getting out of body, I didn't care about anything but getting out of body. You understand what I mean? Like that was all I cared about.
Oh yeah, me too. I was the same place. Yeah.
So now that like my brain has shifted focus on something that my soul kind of wants, it's like this yearning thing. Like if I feel like you can't get out of body when you're not happy. Does that make sense? Like you got to be, I don't want to say happy. Is it content? Or is it just chill? There's got to be a word for it, right? There's got to be a...
The key thing for getting out is the body's got to be asleep and you got to be awake. Now, there's different things that will cause that, because there are some people that they're afraid to get out of body. They get out of body without wanting to get out of body. They go to the doctor for pills to make it stop, please, doctor. And they give them pills. I know because my own cousin was like that. I'm going freaking crazy when she's telling me about this. Oh, yeah, Rich, yeah, I just float out of my body almost every night. It was really terrible. I didn't know what to do. And I'm trying to tell her, she's just a couple of years older than me. This is like 20, 30 years ago. I'm going, Charlotte, it's a good thing. No, it's terrible. I don't know what to do. I went to the doctor. He finally gave me some pills, and it stopped. I'm going, oh my fucking God.
Take some pills to get out of body, huh?
No,
or to stop it.
To stop from getting, yeah. So you don't have to like it, and you don't have to be in a happy place.
Right.
The key thing is the body's got to be asleep, and you got to be wide awake. That's really the key thing. But what we're talking about, trying to get out when we can't, we're in a lower frequency. This is more of the inability to wake up when the body's asleep. And some of the major factors are electromagnetic field radiation. In other words, stuff that emanate from our devices. And I didn't notice it because it snuck up on me slowly, but I was getting out of body a lot before the internet. And I didn't watch TV and I didn't watch movies. But then that was even before Blockbuster was invented. VHS and Beta.
So where did you hear about it from? Was it the Monroe books or was it something else?
Yeah. The Monroe books in about 1988. I read his book, and the technique in there got me out.
Every time I talk about that, people are like, what are you trying to do, start a Monroe cult? I'm like, no, there are other people that get out of body, like yourself or William Buellman and others that are really good at it. But I've downloaded, I don't know how many books on Audible, that talk about the astral travel or the out-of-body experience. And some of them are talking about lucid dreaming, and some of them, like, I just haven't found the kind of quality of books, right? So, I mean, I haven't taken your course or anything yet, but you know what I mean? It's kind of hard because I think people that have had lucid dreams or they remote viewed a little bit, they're telling themselves that they're out of body, and I don't even know if I'm talking about astral traveling per se. Like, I think it's kind of a different thing of sometimes. What do you think?
Yeah, it's different. The astral planes, by definition, there's it's a well-known group or movement is talking about the astral planes, and they got strict definitions for them. But there's the lower astral, and then there's the mental and the causal and the all this stuff. Now, but when you go out of body, a person might go into those realms, but they might not. They might go into someplace completely different. And this is where Robert Monroe coined the word belief system territory.
Right.
Because every reality system, even this physical world that we're in right now, is based upon a belief system. And we are creating this matrix with our own thoughts, just like in a movie. And we're doing it unconsciously. But it's based upon the beliefs and the agreements that we have. That it's like if I were to imagine, if I was a great visualizer and I imagined a beautiful lake and mountains and pristine air and it's really fresh and stuff, and I had such good visuals, I could step into my visualization and touch it and feel it. People can do that. I've talked to quite a few people that can do that. And so they're living in they call it their second life. And you can call it an out-of-body experience if you want, but it's everybody's personal definition of what do I mean by out-of-body. If I know that I am standing here and I'm touching a tree and I'm looking around, I can see 360, and I'm awake and aware enough to know that I have a physical body somewhere and this isn't it. I am not in that body. By definition, I am out of body. But does that mean I'm in the astral planes? No. This person would have created their own imaginary realm, and they've stepped into it. So we create with our imagination. The God consciousness that we are creates through us, as us, with the imagination, and we experience it as our own experience.
Yeah, gotcha.
Thing.
Because I haven't had any like extravagant like space stuff. It's all been like local, like this plane type thing. For some reason, my astral body wants to just play around and be a ghost around here. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to want to be able to go anywhere else. That's kind of weird.
Okay. Yeah. No, I understand the phenomena. Somebody can be able to get out of body easily and all the time, and they still can't get away from the local astral plane. It's kind of looks like their own real neighborhood. Maybe a few things are different. Then there's another place. It's called the real-time double, which is Robert Bruce explains that one, and that is an exact copy of this world, but it's not this world. But if a car drives by in that world, that car is driving by in this world. Real-time double, they call it.
Yeah.
So there's just so many different kinds of realms. If you want to get further than where you're getting, you want to put your head and attention on these amazing other realms. So the way it worked for me is I started reading a lot of books back then, too. I've still got a ton of those books on the shelf. And they talk about all kinds of different places you can go. And when I read Journeys Out of Body, I got real attuned to the different kinds of places and realms you could go to. And I would fall asleep at night. I'd do my different practices and stuff, and I'd fall asleep at night, and I'd wake up later. And I'm going, oh, I'm here. Oh, my gosh. Man, I've been on spacecraft. I've been on planets and universities. I've just been all over the place, and it's fascinating. It's not the local neighborhood.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do that, and I got a bunch of static. I was like, I'm going to go to the moon or something, right? So I started kind of flying towards the sky, and it turned into like white noise for some reason. It was weird. Kind of black and white noise,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The moon. It would be because the moon is a protected realm, and they've got guards out there. They're in this local universe. You get out of body, and let's say you want to go to the moon, or you want to go to Jupiter and snoop around, or Saturn. There's like a lot of shit going down, extraterrestrial kind of shit going down on those planets. And those ETs, they understand out-of-body travel. They understand the other planes and densities and realms way more than we do. And they even got technology that can move their ships into those realms. And their whole, everybody in the ship with technology, not with spiritual ability like we have, but with technology. So anyway, there's just so much going on. If you try to go to one of those places, you will you're likely to get stopped. And it sounds like you got, some of that white noise interference stuff. Because there's a lot going on the moon, and they don't want people getting out of body and go snooping around. It can be done. It can actually be done easily, but you just got to be aware what you're doing. And you sort of plan your your strategy before you lay down to have your out-of-body experience, and say, okay, I'm gonna shift consciousness to the backside of the moon, to one of the installations underground where they're jerking around and fucking with humanity, and I'm gonna do some fucking damage. I'm gonna do some damage control. I'm gonna fix things. I'm gonna do something that's good for humanity and not so good for the bad guys. So you sort of like that, and then if it works, you shift you don't fly there. You don't like travel from your astral physical neighborhood through the astral toward the astral version or the real-time double of the moon. No, you're on a path and a channel and a playing field in which they can see you coming and do their energy work, energy shielding, beam shit at you, or just have a couple of fucking goons come and grab you around the arms in your astral body and say, hey, back to Earth, bitch.
Really?
And shove you back in your body? Yeah.
Do they call you a bitch and cuss at you?
No, it's more telepathic than that. It's not like, not really? Verbal like that. Okay. Yeah. But they'll communicate to you telepathically. You're not supposed to be here. And they'll turn you around. This happened to a friend of mine in 1972. He told me all about it. And I was still trying to get out of body back then, and I couldn't. But he woke up one morning and he said, hey, I got a headache. A real bad headache. And we were doing past life regression work on people and stuff. And so anyway, he said, well, I got a bad headache. So I got one of the other practitioners give him a session so you can do like what happened last night in your dream state using the past life regression techniques. So they regressed him back into his dream state that he didn't remember at all. And after the session, he says, yeah, figured it out. Last night I went out of body and I traveled toward Jupiter. And I got close. And there's these two guys out in space, sentinels, guards. They said, whoa, where are you going? You can't come out here. And he goes, yeah, I can. I'm a free being. I'm going where I want. No, you can't. And they grab him and they turn him around and they escort his ass back to Earth. And he wakes up in the morning with a bad headache with no memory of what happened until he got that session.
That's interesting.
And that was my first encounter with that understanding of things.
I got problems with haints around here, man. Like I told you last time, I had these little blobby shadow figures push me back in my body one time. They just shoved me. Mm-hmm. It was so weird, man.
Yeah, they'll do it. Yeah.
It just shoved you right back in.
Yeah. Do you remember what they looked like or anything?
I think it was because I was maybe halfway in and halfway out, like trying to. My eyes didn't see anything but like shadowy figures. It was kind of denser towards the middle of the figure, and then it kind of got translucent around it.
Yeah. There's all kinds of entities out there, Joe. And there's shadow beings and just all kinds of smoky looking things, and some of them are benign and neutral, and some of them want to help, and some of them they see us as big, powerful. A lot of them, big, powerful beings that are clueless. And it's like looking at a big dumb giant and poking at them and scaring the giant is afraid of these little things. Because we don't know our power, and they enjoy fucking with us and scaring the hell out of us. And it's fun, it's playful, it's entertaining to them.
Yeah, that's
just one kind of. They're not evil. They're just.
Well, I remember the freaky story that I was listening to with Monroe when he got into that fight with that entity or whatever, or maybe it was a couple entities, and he started freaking out and crying and like praying, and they were laughing at him. They're like, listen to him praying to his gods.
Uh-huh.
It's crazy.
They do that, and in his later book, he had some more out of body experiences, and he realized what that was. He went out of body as another aspect of himself revisiting that same experience, but from a different perspective. Some weird shit like that. But anyway, he realized what it was. They were like kittens. They were like his little friends. And they weren't really scary creatures at all, but he was really afraid of them. And that happens a lot.
Did you ever get out of body with a friend, like go travel with a friend, like do those kind of experiments where you could do things together?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, I've never done that. I can guide people that have really good visualization ability. A lot of people that, just can see clearly. Imagine an apple, imagine a tree, and they go, yeah, and touch it. Yeah, I can feel it. I can smell the apple and everything. Some of them folks don't know what they've got. They got a superpower where they can get out of body. So I've sorted that out. And in 1973, I started guiding some friends out of body. I just used a guided visualization, but I'm having them touch things and feel things and step into it and look 360 all the way around. And I know what I'm doing. I'm getting them, I'm talking quietly. It's not hypnosis, but I talk quietly, like it's usually on the phone or it could be in person. But I want them to close their eyes and focus in on their non-physical environment. And the more they pull their attention, awareness from the physical, the less they are creating it. And the more they are putting themselves in that, quote, imaginary environment. And they're touching it and feeling it and smelling it. And their attention draws into it. And I said, okay, imagine having a guitar. He goes, yeah, okay. Okay, strum the strings. He goes, oh my God, I can hear it. And it's just helping people understand how it works, how these reality systems work. So I was able to guide a friend into a world, and she said, I want to see if there's another you here, Rich. And I go, okay. So she's on the beach, and she's really in there. She's having an out-of-body experience, but she's talking to me on the phone through her body. But she's there. And she says, oh, there you are. You're coming down the beach toward me. And I thought, just for the hell of it, I go, I'm sitting there and go, okay, I'm just going to imagine waving to her.
Right, without saying anything?
Yeah, I just, I did that. She says, oh, he just waved. And I'm like, holy fuck. Is this shit real or what?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I've had connections, like astral connections with a couple of people in my life, I think, but they just ended up turning like dark, in the end. And I'm like, damn, I thought this, I guess I was hoping for more. I'm always hoping for more. Does that make sense? Like I'm hoping for higher vibrations from things, right?
Yeah.
And I guess things end up getting dark, and I don't know if that's me doing that, like, or maybe it's the collective. I have no idea.
Dark as a dark energy sort of thing, or literally it gets kind of dark.
Yeah, well, I mean, dark energy. Like eventually, something starts out. It feels high vibratory. It feels great, and then it just ends up getting darker and darker. And these are the connections that I've had with people spiritually. And so, I've learned to kind of back away. I'm like, I don't, this is just whatever's going on is making things worse. Right. So for me, I don't know if I'm doing it or they're doing it, or if I'm attracting certain energies to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Does it seem like in the real world that they reflect that too? They seem light at first and they get darker and darker in the real world?
Then it's like I'm having to deal with their pain and their trauma and stuff like that. Then it enters my dreams, and then it just affects my life. Right. And I'm like, okay, this sucks. Right. I don't mind helping people. And I have a couple of services that I help people, but I try to keep my distance because I think the astral realm is a little bit more, like it influences us more than we think, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. There's a lot going on there, and we're basically influenced every night. We dream. Everybody dreams. Not everybody remembers it, because what the dream is, it's the being when the body's asleep. They continue creating subconsciously one thing or another, and they're time is different over there, and it's not like they always live in the dream state like for long periods of time, but it's kind of like channel surfing the multiverse. And when you're in your dreamscapes, a lot of times you'll be creating something for yourself. Your higher aspect of self will be creating an issue that you're trying to work through in the physical world, and it'll keep repeating or different variations of that issue, and it's trying to help the lower self work it out. Unfortunately, we might fail at working it out, wake up feeling like crap, but then not remember the dream, and now we just feel like crap when we wake up. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
So there's just so much going on, while the higher self is trying to help us with some kind of a dream. The dark side is out there trying to hijack our dreams and throw a wrench in it and just fuck us up and scare the shit out of us in a dreamscape.
Yeah, that fear thing is a bastard, isn't it?
Fucking asshole for, what?
That fear thing is a bastard, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, it is. There's the fear that will trigger when you're trying to get out of body and you go through the sleep paralysis. But then there's that other fear stuff where you'll get ETs will, depends on what's going on, who the person is and what's going on in their world. The ETs, the regressive ETs can abduct a person. I'm not trying to, scare people about the out-of-body and dream state stuff, because there's a lot of wonderful things happening too. But it can happen. People will get abducted in their dreamscape, or in another, their physical body falls asleep, and they're awake and they're like their second body, but now they're getting hijacked and messed with. And it could be ETs doing it, or it could be entities, lower entities, different kinds of beings.
So you have an entity removal boot camp, right? And there's a big picture on your website about energy sucking vampires. Okay. So I got to tell you from the time I was a kid, one of the first nightmares that I ever had was a long dark haired woman figure that came into my grandmother's house. I think I was asleep. Okay. But I could have been out of body. And it literally comes in the house. I remember like having, man, I can tell you some freaky stuff, but it comes in the house. It walks up the stairs, and then it pulls my body towards her. And then it basically, and I'm like a kid, and it forces me to have like an orgasm in a sense. So I felt, and as a child, I didn't even know what it was. I remember like, I don't know, like, did I just go to the bathroom? Like, I don't know what the hell had just happened to me. Right. Mm-hmm. And I had a few more of those dreams as I got older, and, through my childhood until I got into my teenage years, and they kind of disappeared. But then they started kind of manifesting in like human form, if that makes sense, but in different ways, right? So I've always wondered if I've had something like that just attached that will not go away,
Well, it sounds like the basic succubus sort of, sexual energy vampire thing, and there are several versions of those. But, you got to look, sometimes you got to go deep to figure out what the hell is that thing doing in my world.
Yeah, I hear you. So is that something that you can help with in your boot camp? Because I've said this to people and they're like, man, that's probably a demon. Or I said, how is that a demon? Well, I mean, how is it a dream? Like my parents, well, you just had a bad dream. I'm like, I don't know this woman. I've never seen her before in my entire life. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for all I know, I could have been out of body because I remember having dreams as a kid walking around the house, right? Like walking around the property or just this eerie feeling around the house, and spoons and dishes were moving and stuff. And I thought it was real. And then I'd wake up, So I think it was something like that. I just don't want to say it's a demon because I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to put boundaries on it.
Yeah, there's different labels, different kinds of entities out there. There's just so many. It's a freaking zoo, really. And you don't always encounter them. It depends on where you're at, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually.
Sure.
When you go to sleep at night, and then when you wake up, and now you're out of your body, and like, look where I am. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So,
well, it makes me wonder if it's attached to some kind of generational thing, a family thing. Because I grew up and my mother passed away from drinking, right? And then she stayed in abusive relationships. So my experience as a child was, my mother would rather be away from me with a guy who's drunk and beats on her, But then I found out later that her father had ended up molesting her. And then I had pretty much kind of the same crazy experiences with women my whole life. Like either I was in a third party situation or there was a girl that was being abused or whatever. And I'm thinking, what is this part of that? Because I'm 41 now. So I'm starting to put the puzzles together. I'm like, is this an energy that hasn't gone away? Are they related? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And there's definitely generational stuff. It can, the entity. Let's say it's one of these incubus or succubus, and they're involved with the family. Grandpa or even great grandpa or something, and they just stick around. One generation after another. Especially if there's some, issues regarding, fathers messing with kids or something like that.
Right.
Then so there's the in for the sex entity to be messing with the next generation, and then that.
That's what I thought. Like it was something like that, because my grandfather was into, my other grandfather was into like big time Hebrew, almost in a magical sense. And he got into, what do you call it? Demonology. So he got really deep into it, and he started telling me that what you're saying. He said, no, I've learned that there's doorways into the soul. Through your eyes, through your breath, and mainly through your sexual energy. And that used to freak me out. I'm like, what? It used to like really freak me out. And then Monroe talks about when he gets out of body that he has to pass through this barrier of sexual energy. It's like a thing in the astral realm or something,
Yeah.
Have you encountered any of that?
No, I had a couple of a few out of body experiences that were sexual, and only one was creepy. The others were nice, but almost never. It's like 1 out of 100 or like that. That's have good. More like romantic stuff, love. It's hugs and snuggles and look them in the eyes and
that sounds
that
cool.
Sort of wonderful stuff. Yes.
Apparently, we don't have the same things haunting us, man.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably why people that have sleep paralysis are afraid. I think at some point, I could be wrong, but you could tell me if I'm wrong. I think at some point, like they had it when they were a child, and it caused them to go into something in the astral realm, maybe that traumatized them, but maybe they repressed it or they don't remember it. Because I've had crazy stuff happen to me when I was a kid, but when I found out about the out of body, I was like, yeah, let's do this. So I guess I just don't understand the fear of it,
Well, it's kind of like, let's say a person driving through a big city, in their vehicle. Analogy here. They're in their vehicle, and they step outside their vehicle. They're just going to, buy a newspaper, or they're going to check out something, whatever, and they get attacked. Holy shit. And it's traumatizing. So they get back in their vehicle, and never again. But here it is, a few years later, they kind of forgot about it. And here they are again. They get out of their vehicle again in a big city, and they get attacked again. Now, damn, they're like getting really sensitive. Now, they get back in their vehicle years later, and this can be lifetimes later. But years later, every time they get out of their car, before they get out of their car, they turn off the engine in the big city. And so now you get this weird, what it is, these are triggers, subconscious triggers. So you're in your vehicle, you turn off the engine, and that's synonymous with you shift from hearing with your physical ears. Now you're hearing with your astral ears. And all the ambient noise in the physical world, even your breathing, is off. It's super quiet.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I know exactly what you're talking about. It's kind of like if you ever been at night when it snowed and it stopped snowing, how quiet it is, because there's like no animals moving. It's just weirdly quiet, almost like you can hear a weird hum because of the quietness. Yeah.
Yeah. So these triggers, it's like they're in the big city, and they're not really planning on getting out of the car. It's years later. They don't even remember the last two incidents. It was so traumatic, they got amnesia. But here they are. They're in the big city, and you stop at a light, and somebody turns the motor off. Trigger fear right now. You don't even open the fucking door and step out on the sidewalk. You're already afraid. You're deathly afraid. Yeah, and so that's one of the explanations on the fear we experience just before we get out of body. It's so similar to one, getting out of body and being messed with by entities, but it's also the fear when we die. Every lifetime that we died, it's a similar phenomena. Somewhere in there, the body, you leave the body, you phase shift out of sync with the body. And now you're hearing and experiencing with your astral or, your non-physical senses. And it's all quiet. And it's like, oh, my God. And it's the fear of the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen. And also the fear when you get that sleep paralysis going, and then as it dies down, you might start feeling the fear. And it's like, this is too similar to times that you've died. And people are afraid of death. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, I'm going to lose all my love, my family, my life,
identity.
I don't know what's coming. And they are just really afraid. So literally, the fear that triggers, especially during the vibrations or right after the vibrations, it is like the fear you're going to die, because you've triggered that fear. From the times you have literally died. And so we just got to face it. It's not always entity stuff. It's just, but you got to face that. That's one of the things we have to do if we're going to get out of body, using that, turn on the vibrations, work them up, confront them, let them flow through the body. It's called the velo, voluntary.
It freaked me out hearing you talk about that. I understand it now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, dude, I used to have a girlfriend that she would wake up and it almost happened, dude, like right when I was falling asleep, man. I'd be like, I'd try to keep her calm, try to keep her relaxed, and because she was into this stuff too, right? And then everything was fine, and then we go to sleep, and it's like right when everything gets really still and really calm, she'd wake up. And be like, what the hell? Like, it would freak me out, And I'm thinking, what is wrong with you? And it was like some kind of anxiety. I wasn't trying to get onto her. It just freaked me out, And it was like some kind of anxiety trigger. Like, she just, even when she relaxed, her psyche couldn't take the relaxation to that point. Like it would, she's like, oh, I felt my body fall. Like, I said, what do you mean? It feels like you're falling. Like when she would go out, it felt like she was falling, you know? And I'm like,
yeah, a lot of people will get out falling through the bed.
That's
They'll
weird.
fall right through the bed on the floor. Yeah. If you know what you know what you're doing, you know what to expect, and you face the fear will go away. And now you're on the floor under the bed, and you just roll out from under the bed and stand up. It's probably not a good idea to look at the body, because that can cause you to, we go where we focus.
Jolt you.
So if you look at the body, it might suck you right back in. But you want to I'm out, and then maybe have a plan or a place you want to go, and you don't think about anything but that place. Oh, happy place. Oh, spacecraft, friendlies. Oh, or, a loving, beautiful place. Now, I didn't always have a plan like that, but I had it kind of programmed in that those beings that helped me without me knowing, at least we had an agreement. They would show me something of value that would be important for me to know, to understand life, reality, the multiverse, stuff like that. So I got a lot of wonderful educational experiences like that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What are we doing? And okay, my brain got all jumbled up. When it comes to magic and manifestation, the magicians say in all of their books, from Eliphas Levi back to Agrippa on, they say that the astral realm is the realm between realms, right? It's the realm, it's kind of like the barrier between heaven and earth. And in this realm, from heaven to earth, let's just say that in this realm there are blueprints. So the blueprints of things are in the astral realm before they come into physical density. Does that sound like that even makes sense to you?
Yeah, if you look at it from the perspective of belief system territories, imagined realms, take that into consideration, and then take into the consideration the general idea of how we manifest is we think about the thing as if we already have it, and then we have a frequency, vibrational, emotional frequency match
right
to the having of the thing. And these are the two key components of manifesting. And that will be the same key components of magic. They got a lot more going. They got a lot more details and, little side things. But yeah. So if you look at what you just said, the blueprint is in the astral. You could say that the blueprint is in the imagining, and the astral is susceptible to our imagination. And we will arrive in an astral plane relative to our imagination, what we think and believe, or used to think and used to believe that we forget. But it is the blueprints will be in there for the manifestation. So another way to put it is, if you're a good manifester, Neville Goddard or, whatever style of teacher you have for your manifestation, law of attraction stuff. The idea is that when you imagine it, you could say you're imagining it in a non-physical realm. Well, you could say, somebody might say, well, you're imagining it in the astral. And now you're feeling and believing as if you have it. Yeah. And you visualize it, and it's in the astral. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then it takes form into the physical realm through natural law, in a sense. That's why it always shows up in as a coincidence or something that seems natural or, a freak of nature sometimes. Like, I can't believe that just happened, or a synchronicity or whatever. Because like you said, if we think about it, we focus on it, we feel it in that moment, we have it. Right. And even especially if we give gratitude for having it, like we just know we have it. If we can keep that frequency as we live it, it's not like The Secret where it's it's different. So explain it to you like this. So I want a chair. Like the first person that built a chair had the visual in his mind of a chair. And then he got all emotional thinking about what it'd be like to sit in a chair. And then he physically took action to make that chair, but it worked. That imaginal imprint worked its way down into the earth that way. Right. So
yeah, we're on the same page. That's how I see it too.
So like when we get out of body and we're like really close to our body, or we're in this realm, we're probably right at that edge between right before things start to turn into molecules in a sense, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You can even say that there are some astral copies of the atoms and molecules, depending on which realm you are in when you consider that. Because you can be in some realms, belief system territories, non-physical realms, and you can see some guy walking down the street, and he's like a computer game guy. You move the camera through his body, and it's empty. There's nothing there. Yeah. So, but it depends on which astral or non-physical realm or belief system territory you're moving into, and there's just an unlimited number of those. It's just so complex. Millions of those things.
If that was true, right? If that, like what our theory is true, because I'm still going to call it a theory because I don't know it to be an absolute fact, right? But if that was true, then our upbringing, our environment, the type of people we're around, like attitude, all of this stuff is affecting our reality, regardless of, you know what I mean? Regardless of how, I know we're powerful manifestors, but if we don't make choices to put ourselves in a more positive environment or create one, I think it's hard to manifest, don't you? Like through that area, because you got all these other negative, blobby, crappy energies, you know.
Yeah, we're caught up in it, but we have to practice being in control of our thoughts and our feelings. We say control. Somebody say, "Oh no, don't control. Just go with the flow. Trust the universe and trust. Have faith and blah blah blah." Well, okay, so we don't have to use control, but to be able to refocus your attention, so you're focusing on a negative, and it's tricky because what we focus on predominantly and think about predominantly and have predominant feelings about, this will manifest our life. This is what my life right now is, because, generally speaking, because of my predominant thoughts and feelings about life. And this is the life I've manifested for me, in my reality bubble, so to speak. I'm not living the life of somebody else in some other big city or some other country that's having a lot of problems. That's not my reality. I'm aware of that stuff, but I'm not thinking about and feeling that, and it's not part of my existence. And that gets complex because before we got here, we kind of had a plan and an agreement to be born where we're born and who we're born as our family, and there's a lot of history. It gets really complicated. So we can say that what we think about and focus on predominantly is going to be what we manifest. Yeah, but you can't just turn off the negative feelings or the negative thoughts. You're thinking about that thing because you're worried about it happening, because it looks like it's going to happen, and you don't want it to happen. So do you just turn away? Oh, I'm not going to think about that. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do. And the emotions you have, if somebody did a terrible thing and you just saw it happen, the right feeling state isn't to feel happy and grateful. It's just inappropriate. Yeah. That's just wrong. So there's a time and a place to feel what we feel, but the more we can get control over it, so we're not too habitually focused on the negative and the negative feeling states. And here's a big one. This is really big. Most people don't like boredom. They don't like feeling bored, and it can get so boring Do you feel it's like, it went crazy. It was so fucking boring. And you think about people in solitary confinement.
Oh, yeah,
and it's
for sure.
like, they're just bored. And we cannot confront boredom. Boredom is higher state than being worried or concerned and pissed off or frustrated. And so people don't necessarily realize it. And I'm not saying this is everybody, but if you get your life in order, you don't have any worries or concerns, no problems, it could happen that you're going to get fucking bored.
Yeah.
And you can't fucking stand it.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. But I understand relativity. I understand like love and fear, alpha, omega, all that stuff, right? Like that's our power. We have a power to choose all the time, you know?
Yeah. So people will compulsively reach because it's easier to go into that worry or concern or anger or just mild antagonism. Start fucking with people. Just go, what are you doing? I just got bored. I just thought I'd spitballs at the girl up in the front row.
Yeah.
And it's just for something to do. Kids are getting bored. It's kind of a natural phenomena. And that's one of the challenges we got to, how do you confront the boredom and rise above it? And that's where passion and mission and purpose, all that shit comes in. But yeah.
William Buellman told me this, and I thought it was the coolest thing. He said, so if we look at the earth as a training ground, and I think I happen to think there's more to it than just some kind of school or training ground. However, if we looked at it like we were like these little mini creator kind of babies, like we're being raised to understand we're creators. And the creator has put us in this womb with this kind of like physical density so that when we create, it happens with a set of laws and times and things like that so that we can understand the cause and effect of things. Because when we get into the astral realm or we become one of those beings, like stuff happens so fast that we really need to kind of go back down here and slow down and understand you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like he said, this would be the perfect training ground for consciousness, Earth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of validity in that way of looking at things. But here's another one though. It's like, which one works better, but because I've met so many people that are so good with visualization, they can imagine it and step into it, like the book Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I've talked to people. There's this one guy, he's so good at it, he could imagine a sitcom. Pick one, and he could be in it. He could live in that universe and talk to the actors as if they were the characters, or he could become one. Or he could replay he's like a photographic memory sort of thing, but he's in it, eidetic memories sort of thing. He's in it, and he's replaying that 45-minute series. He's replaying the show, and he can play it as any person he wants to, or he can be an extra character in the thing, but he can touch it and feel it. He can interact with the people, hug them and kiss them or punch them in the face. And this is a person that has that ability to create with thought and imagination instantly. And I've met other people that can do it. And so if this is our God power and just a human being can do it, what happens when that human being leaves here? That human being is now not human being anymore, but he's being out in La La Land. And where's he going to go? Is he going to create his own world? Can he imagine? Another guy, he imagined an entire future cityscape. He had an apartment, with everything, with every detail. I guided him into it. He could already do it. And I said, let me guide you into that. And let me see if I can improve your abilities a little bit. And he said, yeah, okay. So we went in there and I said, well, okay, look at the counter. Okay, yeah, touch it. Yeah, can you feel the temperature? Yeah. I never thought of that before. Yeah. The texture? Yeah. Okay, is there a big window? Yeah, there's a big window here looking out over the city. Okay, walk over to the window. Yeah. Okay, look around, look for something far, far away. He said, yeah, there's a building way out there. Okay. And we did all this stuff. And I said, what, do you have a girlfriend or something? Yeah, he said, I got a girlfriend. And I go, oh, can you imagine her coming over? You go, yeah. And man, it's like being there. The guy is there. It's like an out-of-body
what he would do,
experience.
like it would happen, everything he would do.
Yeah. You just imagine it. And then, the girl knocks on the door and she comes in. And
wow,
they talk.
That's amazing.
And the other guy was actually, his wife was jealous. I guess it's okay to say this because I'm not mentioning any names.
Yeah, sure.
But the guy came to me because he was having too much fun with the girls in his imaginary world.
Oh, no. That'll make some girls jealous, for sure.
Yeah. Apparently, it was a little much for the wife, The guy didn't seem to think it was a problem.
Well, Robert Monroe messed around with girls in the astral realm, and he was married. I think he told his wife to, like he had to, or something.
Yeah, I've been with a few girls,
but the Roman. But it's weird, like that. This is a whole nother subject, but it's weird that 20% of men are more promiscuous than women out right now. Statistically, they say. But then Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, said promiscuity, like the promiscuous energy, is a feminine energy, not a masculine energy. So that's interesting, But I mean, it's all theory and stuff too. So I don't know. Yeah,
that's a loaded subject there. That whole.
Listen, man, I've manifested stuff like I have manifested stuff that's come into my reality in such a powerful, fast, intense way. Not like that fast, but big things that I've went from nothing to bigger things really fast. And then it just blows up because I think there's a thin line between love and fear. It doesn't matter what you're loving, or it doesn't even have to be a purpose or a person. Like as soon as you start getting what you want in life, if you don't think you're worth it, or there's some kind of energy that's testing you, it's like it'll sabotage itself every time. Because as soon as we say I love you to a person or a thing or whatever, that old childhood fear comes up that it'll go away, or they won't love us back, or whatever. And that little game plays back and forth, I think, in the astral realm too,
Absolutely. And hey, I was just thinking about this yesterday. It plays in past lives. Most people are going to fall in love, whether they get reciprocal love or not. They're going to fall in love with somebody in a lifetime. And some people will fall in love 2 or 3 times. And they'll get their heart broken. It could be guys or girls, and they get their heart broken. Or they stay in love their entire life, and then somebody dies. One of the partners dies, and the other one is heartbroken. So this pain of having lost one's love has probably happened almost as many times as you've been incarnated. And there's a lot of people have been incarnated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, over and over and over again, for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of years on other planets and stuff. But all those heartaches. So imagine you get in this lifetime and you see a pretty girl. You're in high school. This is classic, right? And you want to go talk to her, and you're all afraid. Oh my God! Oh, what if she ignores me, or she insults me? Oh my God, I can't talk to her. That shit can be built up shit from past lives.
Yeah,
we're like,
but if you see the whole the bigger. If you see the bigger picture, though, you're not worried about it because it's going to end in pain regardless, right? So what you have,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna fucking hurt.
That's what everybody I've ever dated. When the fear starts coming around, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. It's almost annoying, and I'm like, listen, man, I'm bored of this. Like, you gotta, and I don't want to be mean, but it's like we're here to live, man, until we die. So. Let's live, and then when the shit happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's good philosophy.
I mean, there's nothing because I'm not going to spend the rest of my life, regardless of what I'm afraid of, like trying to prevent myself from feeling pain because I'm not going to live.
Yeah. Some people say this is the planet of suffering. It's like, what's the point? Well, the point is to suffer. Yeah. And the theory would be like, well, how is that a theory? Well, if you can go into the other planes and you can imagine any kind of realm you like, and it's paradise. It's parties, it's love, it's community, it's whatever you want it to be. You can fly, you can be in spaceships, you can play space adventures, anything. And how long you want to do that? Well, I think I want to do it, I like it. I'll do it for 100 years. No, 1,000. No, I can do this 1,000,000 years, man. Yeah. Well, how many millions of years can you do that shit before it gets fucking
boring?
Old?
Yeah.
Boring. Oh my God, everything's predictable. I got control of everything. What if I can invent, or somebody else could invent, some being can invent or create a realm that's a challenge?
Yeah.
Really? What's a challenge? A challenge, like you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You don't have control over it. You mean I can't fix it just like thinking fixed and it's fixed? Right. Oh my God, I got to do that. Where is this place? It's right over there. Boom, bam. Now you're incarnated into a physical life, and you go, oh my God, but you can go out of body, and you have your psychic abilities. You can still visualize and manifest. It takes a little longer, but you're good. You go, oh my God, this is fun. I love this. Like, oh, got stabbed in the heart by a fucking spear. God damn it.
It's like a video game, right? Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Video game.
How about everybody having a fucking, oh man, I got to go back. Just like in that story Robert Monroe talks about his buddy. He said, oh, this is fucking wonderful. I got to go back and do this again. So you can get addicted to the fucking game because you still have a lot of control and a lot of ability. You can go out of body anytime you want. You know you're not the body, but you're living the life through the body. Oh, it's fun. How many times? 1,000 years? 10,000 years? 1,000,000 years? A fucking 500 million years? Oh my God. Somewhere along the line, you can get so addicted to the game, like too much, and you get addicted, and it's not satisfying and fulfilling anymore, but you can't stop. It's like drugs, alcohol, whatever your addiction might be. We can get addicted to emotional drama, love, heartache, pain. It was just so much fun when we were able, and it was new and exciting. But now, what if it gets addicting? And now it's just turned into a planet of misery. And it's like, how do I get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, it happens. That happens for sure. But I think that's what I'm saying, man. I think we find power in balance, right? Like, if you're talking about the astral realm, like you know as well as I do, like if you go out of body and you give into something, I think this is why the machine elves were like, don't give into astonishment. Don't give into your emotions. Focus. Pay attention. Like, this is why I think consciousness is so important, because like if you give in to that addictive feeling, like, oh well, I'm bored, so I want to create some pain and drama, it's like you're not going to last long out of body, because once you get out of body, if something's, you go, you get addicted to that crazy emotional feeling and you're jolted back in your body. But it seems to me like the people that can just stay focused and chill, they last longer out of body, from what I've read.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right on. That's exactly right. I agree.
It's like a battery in a sense, right? Like a battery, it can jolt. And I've experienced this in my life. You got all this pleasure and good, like the positive energy, and then you got this negative energy. But if you do that to a battery, if you're this up and down person, like you're not going to live very long. The battery's going to wear out. You got to keep the balance between the negative and the positive, kind of in the middle for it to stay powered up,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally.
Yes. I mean, I could be wrong, but.
No, that's right. Yeah. Reality transurfing. I don't know if you heard about that, but that's interesting teaching. Yeah. Okay. So they talk about excess potential, and balance. And my understanding of that is that, if you put too much importance on something, you're throwing it out of balance.
Right.
So what's that mean? And if you have excess potential, what's that mean? You have the more potential to manifest what you're considering is important. It's what happens. And so what's important to us, we think about more, and we have feelings about more, stronger feelings. And unfortunately, a lot of people, what's important is negative shit not happening.
Yeah.
It's really important. This is negative shit doesn't happen. So we're thinking about the negative shit because negative shit happened before. So we're thinking about, oh, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen.
But
it's
you're
really
making it
happen.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. You're building up the potential for it to manifest because you're thinking about it more and you're feeling about it more because it's important. It builds up that excess potential. And what's going out of balance is that your physical world, what's in it, and what you're experiencing relative to what you're putting into that generative aspect of consciousness where we manifest the physical world. So we're loading up the manifest machine because it's important, and we're thinking about it, feeling about it, and it's going to get out of balance, and pretty soon it's going to manifest. And as soon as it manifests, whatever you're thinking about or feeling about it, whether it's positive or negative, it's going to manifest. And so the universe, we can say, brought balance back. You thought about it a lot, you feel about it, now you got it. Now shut up.
Yeah. Well, the universe has a way of, if it has to cause chaos to make harmony happen, it will, to get balance back. But back to the out of body thing, I was on a podcast the other day as a guest talking to this guy, and I explained to him, like, there's a lot of talk about astral travel, but when I still don't think it's educated enough, the out of body experience, because when I talked to him, I said, when you get to a certain state, your body starts like humming. Like some people say it feels like electricity. Some people say they can hear it, but it's a form of vibration that happens before you kind of peel out or slip out of body, right? And he was like, really? And I'm like, how come this isn't a thing that people understand? And so I started asking him about, well, you've ever had sleep paralysis, and he's like, yeah, but I didn't feel any humming. I just felt numbness. Well, if you can chill out in that numbness, at least for me, that's when the vibrations, it feels, do you know what I'm talking about? Or does it happen to you a different way?
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. You can turn on with practice, you turn on the vibrations. They call it the voluntary, energetic, longitudinal oscillation. Yeah, that's it. Velo, they call it. But it's the vibrations that Robert Monroe talks about. In his first book, he talks about how to do it. A little technique. You imagine a gold ball here, and then you imagine a gold ball above your head, like a chakra up there. And then you imagine it vibrating, and you might just feel a little bit. And then you imagine pulling it through your body, and you want to get the tingles going. Well, since then, there's a lot more tech on how it works and what they call it and all that stuff. But you want to get the vibration going. What you're doing is you're changing phase, the frequency vibration of your inner body or second body with the frequency vibration of your physical body. And Robert Raduga calls it shifting out of phase. So if you're awake, mind awake, body asleep. If you're awake, when that process is happening, you can feel the vibrations. And so there's a technique for getting out that has to do with inducing the vibrations and then confronting the fear and the intense fight. Sometimes it's so intense it's scary. And yeah, it can sound like a locomotive or a jet engine or a skill saw buzzing in your head. It's just intense as can be, and yet feel it. It's visceral. It's loud, scary. But you confront it, it'll go away. And this is the process has gone full cycle, and now you're completely you're 180 out of phase in frequency, electronically speaking, and now you don't feel the vibrations anymore. Now you're in a place where you still need to separate from the body, so you can roll out back and forth. But you have to be awake for it, or you're not going to feel it. And a lot of people their body will go to sleep. Well, they'll go to sleep first, and the body will instantly, quickly go to sleep. There's a lot of details about that, but okay, boom, both are asleep. And if you've been working your out-of-body stuff, you can wake up later.
Yeah,
and your body stays asleep. And now you don't feel the vibrations because you were asleep spiritually when any of that thing happened. So now you're out of body.
I was always like into the creepy stuff, man. Like I wanted to stay awake all the way through the vibratory state, right? And then just peel myself out. And that was the coolest thing in the world to me. But I did it quite a few times. But then I started getting like, I guess I got cocky. Does that make sense? Like I can just do this now. And then weird stuff started happening. Like my head would get stuck and my feet would rise up. Like I could feel my feet floating up, and then but it felt like my head was still. This sounds crazy, but it felt like my head was still on the pillow, and my ears would feel full of pressure, and that happened like 3 or 4 times. Like, why the hell are my feet rising up, but my head's not? Just weird stuff like that started happening.
What is happening is that your second body has done the frequency change, except not your head. It's like you can call them chakras or energy systems in the body. They can be the frequency didn't rise in the head, so the head is stuck. Sometimes people they'll get stuck at the ankles. They can lift up, but their ankles their second body is stuck to their first body by some body part, and it has to do with the frequency or vibration of that body part of the second body. So the fix would be, what is causing my head area to stay at that frequency match with the physical body? Too much thinking, too much TV or monitors, looking at monitors too much. All that radiation coming from a monitor, and just the visual stimulation. You're seeing a lot, and just it's like a lot of activity. So that can affect that.
Interesting.
That's my understanding or theory about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did it a few times, and I was thinking, damn. But the one time that I really had that really crazy out of body experience, I tried it 4 or 5 times before, and I would just stand up, but I would be awake. I'm like, damn. But the first time I ever did it, man, I just made sure that I waited for the vibratory state. And then, I just waited until it kind of calmed down a little bit. And then as it started to calm down, I peeled myself up, but I didn't stop, because I think that's what was messing me up, is because I was on one of those weird couches where you can't just keep getting up because it's too soft, So I kind of rolled in a wave to where once I started rolling out, I couldn't stop my inertia, but I kept it slow. And then when I stood up, I was like, damn, it still didn't work, And then I turned around and there I was sleeping.
You were out in your you were in your physical body?
No, it worked. I just didn't feel a difference, man. I just turned around and there I was sleeping. I was like, I did it. I'm out. Then I went outside and started flying around like I was on a zip line or something. I was I got too excited,
Yeah. Yeah. There's some pretty fancy places you can go. I've been on spacecraft. Yeah, it just takes a lot of work. And I think these days it takes more work than it used to, 20, 30 years ago, because of the interference. There's a lot of electromagnetic field radiation and programming, belief system programming these days that we have to work through.
What I figured out, though, is I can't do it, Rich, in a place. I can't do it in a place that's like, I don't want to say names, but if I'm in a place where it's like in a negative, like there's just too much anxiety, fear, negativity in the environment, my body won't be able to. I just can't do it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Another thing is I noticed it got harder. They call them smart meters. The utility meter has it's Wi-Fi. It's got a certain frequency sender, so people can just drive by the street or whatever, and they can read your meter. They don't have to, like the old days, they had a meter man. But those meters are toxic. and they radiate through everybody's house because they're usually real close to the house or right next to the bedroom sometimes. And that electromagnetic field radiation can really make it it can interfere with getting out of body because it interferes with your ability to focus your own brain waves and mental phenomena and all that. That's my theory.
Can you tell me about a time when you had to like really face a fear that in the out of body state that was hard to overcome? Do you remember a time? Like, because the only story I ever heard you tell was on your YouTube channel when you kind of started coming out of body and there was an entity right in your face, you know?
Yeah. Well, the very first times, there's two. There's a time scary being in the swamp. That was one. And the other one was the very first time I got the vibrations, and that scared me like 3 times. Which one do you want me to tell?
Let's do the swamp one, the swamp thing.
Okay. Yeah, so I just woke up one day out of body. I go, oh, this is neat. Oh, cool. I go, what am I doing here? And so, I'm near a swamp, and it's kind of dark over on the other side. And I'm not thinking, whatever. So I thought I'd just wade into the water. It wasn't that swampy on my side. So I wade into the water about up to my knees. And I'm looking over on the other side. It's only about 30 feet over. And, but there's some overhanging dead, dark leaves on trees. And it's just kind of a dark thing and the leaves are over the swamp. And so there was a dark spot over there. I go, wonder what's over there. So I walked over toward it. Oh my God, this fucking evil fucking energy and kind of a being, but it wasn't the visual. It was the feeling of, holy shit, this evil, creepy thing started coming at me. And it's that evil, the fear of evil. It's like, whoa, holy fuck.
Like it didn't make you, did it paralyze you? Like you couldn't move? That kind of fear?
Almost. I was able to fucking run. Holy shit, let me out of here. I took off fucking running back to my safe little body. Oh, I'm so safe here in the physical world.
What did you think it was, though? Did you ever figure it out?
Yeah. It was just one more, astral entity thing. Some plane saw me there. Oh, this will be fun. And what they can do is it's like an emotion generator, frequency generator. It can literally create that energy feel that is of what evil feels like. And then they can project that onto a person. You can do any kind of emotion. You can do anger, love, hate, sad, grief. Well, this little character decided he would flow this evil at me. And wow, you feel it.
That's interesting.
Nothing to be afraid of, really, but you're feeling the evil, and generally, so yeah. And
you weren't thinking about any bad stuff before it happened or anything like that?
No. No. I'm not the kind of guy that watches, scary movies. I'm not a horror film guy. But
there's a lot of movies out, man, now that are talking about the astral realm. Even the new, horror film, like the Insidious film, is, the kids are astral travelers, and they're going to this creepy place called the Further, and they're summoning up demons and stuff. And I think this is where people get their fears about all this. I'm not saying there's not bad things there, but they really make it a lot worse than it is, I think, in the movies,
They're doing it on purpose. It's programming, and they're programming the population to be afraid of the astral. And not just the astral, they got people thinking that the astral is the only place you're going to go when you get out of body. So they got you programmed there, and that in the astral, there's all that scary shit. And it's just not that way. No, there's a lot of wonderful places we go to when we get out. The best thing about being able to get out and learning how to get out of body is you learn how the multiverse is, what it's about, and you got something to compare. There, our life beyond the physical, we are immortal beings, and we can do all kinds of things and live in all kinds of wonderful reality systems. There are some beautiful neighborhoods, like, perfect homes, and the big trees and the pretty lawns and the winding roads. It's just beautiful and warm and fuzzy, and it's great. And there is no danger. There is no bad. There is no downside. And there's other places that are just adventure, sunny and bright and expansive. And there's a big city over there, and there's a dirt road here, and you're stomping around. The dust is flying through your toes, and you're going, "Oh my God, I feel so alive!" And the breeze blowing through your hair, and you just feel alive. It's like that. That's the real worlds are out there, or you could say the lighter, better, awake realms experiences, and there's no pain.
That sounds amazing. I want the rest of my life to be that way,
Mm-hmm. It's kind of supposed to be that. This is the place where you come and you get the hell out as soon as you figure it out. You can call it a learning experience. There's a part of us that I can see that Bowman's theory and perspective, and Dolores Cannon calls this, I think she calls it Earth School too. I kind of used to, but I kind of don't like the idea because on the one hand, if I've lived 1,000 or 5,000 lifetimes, not years, but lifetimes, what the fuck do I need to come back here and learn English, learn the language again, and learn how to pick up a hammer and pound a nail?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or what do I need to know about love that I already didn't fucking, am I still having problems with that? Well, apparently.
I ask God about that all the time. I'm like, look, man, come on, like, and I don't know if I'm talking to myself or my higher self or whatever. I'm like, let's just, whatever it is that I'm supposed to learn or that I did to somebody or whatever, man, like, how do I get past this? Cause I'm ready to, I came here to experience love and life and light and happiness on earth. I'm not saying everything's love, light, and cluelessness all the time, but I just don't want to be around people that just choose fear like all the time. Like I can't be around it anymore, for some reason. It triggers me, man. And I got to get past that trigger somehow.
Yeah. I believe that we do come here for a reason. Even people that, there's a forced incarnation or prison planet Earth. I'm not saying that some people don't get grabbed and nabbed and shoved into a body against their will. But the game they are playing outside of the physical universe experience, that between lives area, that's a real universe too. And the person that's in that universe susceptible to getting caught and shoved into an incarnation that they don't want, you can say victim, but at the same time, and it's true, but at the same time, they chose to go into that universe where they would be susceptible,
victimized
to of getting caught and yammed into the third density reality system. You see how that works?
Yeah, we should be able to get out of it, though. I think we're powerful enough to change, because you hear this stuff like, oh, that's karma, that's your destiny, that's your life path. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If I'm a mini creator and I can't timeline, I can't jump while I'm here, surely you can. Yeah.
Surely. Yeah.
I'm a karma buster, man. A karma buster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people like you and me, and there's a lot of other people, we're walking around here. So this is the last time. I'm not coming back here again. What if we didn't do that last time? We weren't going. I've had enough of this. Well, I think everybody sooner or later is going to have enough, and they're going to say, "Okay, I'm done." And so we stop playing. We don't have to come back. But that opens up a whole nother thing about time is not really linear, and we're above time in another perspective. And so our next incarnation can be 1,000 years into the future or 1,000 years in the past. Sequentially, from that perspective, okay, I just had this one. I think I'm going to go into the future about 1,000 years. And we incarnate, and that becomes the new now. Or we can go, 10,000 years into the past, experience that reality system and that life, and that's the new now. And so you could say, if you're 10,000 years ago and you're living that as the now, you can say, oh, I have memories of the future. How is that even possible? Well, because your previous lifetime where you were 10,000 years into the future. And then you got to look at the idea that time, really, it's not linear and all this stuff's happening at the same time. And then it starts to get really boggle the mind. But if you go into reality transurfing, the teachings, they talk about these alternatives, lifelines, and how everything exists in the now. But we have to take a quantum leap into the next level of philosophy to do that.
Can people, this is a big question. I have to ask you, do you think bodies can get possessed? Not by demons. Let's just throw the demon thing out for a minute. Do you think bodies can get inhabited by other astral beings?
You mean simultaneously with the being that is the original occupant, or instead of? Instead of,
first.
Oh yeah, well, there's a few different scenarios for that. There's a biological body can be soulless, no soul, and a being that is not a human being. They're not naturally, they didn't live a lot of lifetimes as humans. They don't relate to being a human, but they want to try on being human, and they can be an extraterrestrial, advanced race, and they can incarnate into a human body, or we can go the astral stuff where they are an astral entity like you're asking, and this astral entity can incarnate into that body as well and possess that body and live as if human, but they might look a little strange and they might be a little weird and something might be different about them.
So you could actually, because I wonder because I read some books on dissociative disorder and multiple personality. And I mean, I've just seen some people go from one person to a jack in the box in the next. And I'm not talking about a mood swing. I'm talking about who are you, man? What the hell? That's, makes me wonder sometimes.
Yeah. I understand at least two different scenarios there. One is there are two different beings. One is on, and he's running the show for a while, and then the other guy steps in, or the other girl, and this one steps into the background, so to speak, and this other one takes over. Completely different personalities, because it's two different beings, and one could leave the body and never come back, sort of thing, and leave the body to the other being, and that's all fixed, no more schizo. But the other kind of thing is, it's called an alter, or an altered state of being, or altered personality, and this can happen through trauma. And the MK Ultra mind control stuff, they do that. They split the being. The being suffers so much trauma, emotional and physical, that they have to fracture themselves, split themselves apart from their traumatic beingness. And now they can be something else, like they're out of body, so to speak. But only part of their beingness is out. And so it's no longer identifying with the suffering, traumatic experience that it's having. So it's the high-tech mind control creeps know how to fracture beings like this. And so that's one definition of schizo. Schizo means scissors. The schiz part is the scissor cut in two. So you get this split personality. But that's just one kind of personality disorder, you might say. But yeah. So that's not two different entities. That's just the one being. And some people can have like 3 or 4 or 5 altars. Yeah. So that's the thing.
See, that stuff's a little freaky, man. Because people are, it's not something that, I don't like just talking about stuff to be afraid of, but, you know, man, I have seen some like really crazy shifts on people to the point where it's like, man, are you screwing with me? Like, you know what I mean? Where you say like, is this a joke? Like, am I being punked? You know, and then you can say, so like I had a roommate that just, I didn't even know he was schizophrenic. And then he'd be happy one day and just a peaceful, loving dude, right? And then the next day he was screaming, talking about he's going to kill everybody, you know, things like that. And I thought, damn, man, like what is going on with this guy? And if he doesn't take his medicine, then he starts, his reality changes. Like his whole reality changes. And then, you know, I had another person go, yeah, well, that guy's a schizophrenic. You've never been around one. So and then that person did some like flip-floppy stuff on me. And I'm like, what? And it starts to feel like I'm in the freaking Twilight Zone here, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing solid. Like I'm stuck in this weird place. There's nothing that you can, I'm not talking about just moods, man. Like this stuff is intense, you know? And I wonder about that, like about just the semantics of it all when it comes to inhabitants of our soul and things like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's another kind, and that is the entity possession, so to speak. Very strong being or entity that is not the rightful occupant of the body, can come in and overwhelm the occupant, and the occupant recedes, and the demonic or evil fucker is running the show. And it has a fucking attitude. And just going, you know.
Yeah. Thank Rich West for dropping the most F-bombs on. You've dropped more than I have.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right, man. It just being yourself is all that matters to me. So, like, well, all right. So, what is the biggest thing that, since we only got a few minutes left, I know I talk about the out-of-body state with you a lot, okay, but are you still mainly focused on that, or are you focused on other things now?
I'm focused on, I think I think this would serve everybody well. It's know thyself. So it's not so much about the out-of-body thing. Going out-of-body helps you know yourself and understand who you are relative to your physical life and who you're going to be or what you're going to do and what you're going to be when you leave here. So it's all part of it. But because I've kind of gone through that a lot, it's not my main emphasis. Right now it's on understanding who and what I really am, the being that I'm being, the awareness, the consciousness is in all things, in all people. So consciousness isn't a person. I mean, if it's the consciousness that I am is the consciousness that you are. But I'm aware of certain things and you're aware of certain other things. And even the awareness isn't yet the being. So what is a being? A being, so far as I've sorted this out, is that awareness, consciousness chooses to be aware and makes a decision to be, but it's being a point from which to be aware of everything else. And from that perspective, it locates itself by imagining other things into existence. The God consciousness imagines another point of view, and now it's one point of view or viewpoint, and now it's looking at another dot, another quantum particle. But now that might be fun for 1,000,000 years, except there's no time yet. So now we have to have consecutive changes to the illusion of time. Oh, look, it changed. Oh, it changed again. Oh, it changed again. Oh, look, no, this must be time. Oh, how long do I want to do this? Not too much longer, motherfucker. This is getting old. So we start imagining more things into existence. And we don't know about planets yet. We haven't got there yet. We're just imagining shit. And so more and more things we imagine, finally, from this one point of view, you're creating everything in your own little world. Now you're considering yourself to be a creator being that has created beautiful worlds and people. Now you got other people. Where'd you come up with people? I worked it out. I come up with smoky people and then, just fuzzballs and gray things. And next thing you know, we got these kind of people and those kind of people. So now you're just imagining this shit into existence, but you're a point of view. But what about that guy over there sitting on the corner? No, I can be him. I can just, is he aware? Yeah. Watch. Okay. See, I'm him and I know that I'm him. He knows that I'm him and we know we're one. Well, how about let's switch it up a little bit so that he doesn't know, or you, being that person sitting on that bench, doesn't know that you and he are the same conscious, aware being, and you do not have the memory from that point of view that you have here. Can you do that? Oh, yeah, I can do that. Done. And you do it again and again and again and again. And, after so many times of doing that, you get what we got now. Did that make sense?
No, yeah, it does. It definitely does.
Yeah.
I just, I think this whole thing is fascinating. Like, to some people, it's woo and crazy. I'm sure to some people, we sound like complete nutcases on the air right now. But, but for me, like, this awareness journey, this conscious journey in life, in the physical world, exploring it in the physical world and, in the metaphysical world too, is like everything to me. The problem that I'm finding, and this is why I've probably been talking about this and I run people off talking about this, but I don't want to say it's a type of people, but there's an energy in this field that I struggle with because I just think people should just be straight up, whether it's fear or love or whatever you're afraid of. Why are we afraid to transmute it? Why we can't transmute this stuff without facing it. And that's why we have each other, so we can help each other face these things, but I think you're right about the programming. I hate to say it and get all conspiratorial, but there's so much stuff in society that it's like you're never enough. You're never enough. You're never enough. You're never enough. Remember that. You're never, and then nobody feels happy or lovable. And then you can't, so everybody's working on their stuff or they're angry or what. And it's just like, man, we're missing the whole message of Christ and Buddha and all the stuff that we were taught, it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like you're a walking, living child of the Creator, man. What do you mean you're not enough? Like, what do you mean?
Right.
What are you talking about? Or why are you letting anything treat you that way? Or why are you projecting your not enoughness onto me? And then you could talk about it and then you grow through it, or you go out of body and you face it or whatever. But it just feels like we're not doing that. We're finding ways to figure it out through articles online and watching YouTube videos. And it's like, damn, man, that stuff helps, but there has to be some life stuff too,
Yeah.
I'm venting, Rich. You're not going to charge me for this, are you?
No. Yeah. I like that the teaching that the Christ within and the Father and the Son are one, and the Father is the consciousness and of all that is. That's the consciousness, and the Son is just the consciousness choosing to experience life from another point of view. So now you get separation from God if you become the Son of God with Christ. And then this is all happening before physical earth experience phenomena. So you've got God and Son of God as one, but they're creating life in, quote, heaven. in the imaginary realms where you can imagine anything you want. Neville Goddard's good teaching for this sort of what I'm talking about.
I've heard some of Goddard's speeches. I like them in the books too.
Yeah, me too. So the Christ is within every man. It's actually Christ dies and becomes man, and the idea is for the Christ is still within, but died for our sins, so to speak. That'll get deep too. But the man or the woman, the challenge is to reawaken the Christ within, or reawaken that they are the Son of God themselves.
Yeah, no, that's what I've been trying to say, the whole Revelations. That's why it's called Revelations, because it's a divine revelation that you awaken to, that the Lamb of God isn't just this one person. That one person even told you that you were too, right? So the whole idea of you being sacrificed physically, the fact that you're going to die and live and resurrect again, is the sacrifice that it made so that it can experience this divine experience we call life, So holy is the Lamb. We're all going to die. We're all going to be sacrificed at some point,
Yeah.
But no, that's sacrilege. I'm like, okay, well, you're whatever. It's deeper than that, right?
Yeah.
The land will flatten out and every eye will see Jesus. I'm like, you really think the world's going to roll out flat and then this guy's going to descend on a horse through the clouds? Or is it just another way of saying the land will flatten out and everybody will wake the fuck up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Christ was sacrificed in Calgary, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And he was died on the cross. So this is the Son of God dying in Calvary. And Calvary, the ancient name, that was the word skull.
Yeah, and Golgotha,
literally.
All that.
Yeah, and Golgotha too. It's skull. That means skull. So the teaching, if you translate it the way I'm doing it, and the way Neville Goddard did, is the God consciousness, has a son, the Son of God, a point of view, a being, and this being that is the Son of God, Christ, literally dies by going into the skull of a human physical body. So he loses the awareness that he's a child of God, and he's become human. So he's died, and the cross is literally, just stand up straight and put your arms out both sides, and that's the cross that Christ died on in Calgary, the skull. When I read that, and Neville Goddard broke that down, I go, are you kidding me? Really? Holy, what the heck? Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think what you're doing is good work too, man, because to me, you're just like another void walker. You're another brother. You're learning stuff. You're awakening to things, and you're trying to help people. And I appreciate you coming back on the broadcast, man.
You're the best, man. I can just imagine how much you know with all these great guys you've had on your show and gals. Holy shit, you must know fucking tons you haven't had a chance to talk about yet.
I get to the point where it's like, should I just play dumb and ask questions, or should I? And which I learned. That's how I learn, man. Because if you start assuming you know more than someone else, you're going to miss out on something big they can teach you. And then it's a balance. I'm trying to figure out, should I rant or should I listen more? So Right.
Yeah. Well, you're really a good listener, man. You really good with these questions and a good listener. So I really enjoy talking with you. So.
Yeah, me too, brother. And thanks for coming on the broadcast. It was good having you back. And you guys go to his website, richwest.net. That's, it's like it sounds, RICHWEST.net. And what's your YouTube? Plug your YouTube channel again.
Okay. Yeah. It's, Rich2150X. I've got over 2,000 videos uploaded, and I've been doing this for about 13 years. And I talk about experiences, entities, how to deal with them, demonstrations, walk-ins, the whole thing about a walk-in and a walk-out, all that stuff.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
ETs.
Yeah.
And I've made contact with ETs a couple of occasions. I've been on their ships, all kinds of neat shit. And that's my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Well, see, is today Thursday? Today's Thursday, right? So, yeah. Right? Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week here on the show. You guys have sweet dreams. Night-night.